Luca Nation. I feel strong. If Cage asked me how I'm doing, I feel strong. I've been nasally this week, so I feel really good. But when you sneeze a lot, you kind of feel like you have a concussion. That's where I'm at. Like
You've been sneezing so much that you feel like you have a concussion?
Not like a real concussion, but it's just annoying. Like it's like I'm sneezing a lot. It's a nasally type time of year.
Is it like because you changed, temperature, you changed climate, you were in Philly and then down to Florida and you're still getting, accustomed to it, or no, that's not it?
I feel good. I hate, I don't like putting that in the atmosphere. Episode 877. Welcome back to Lucas Tigers and Bronzo My. We may have a lot of new listeners. If you're here for the first time, Luca Nation Network is a network of shows covering the hobby, from collectors to dealers to high-end Jordan collectors to the everyday man and woman. So we try to bring you guys shows, interesting content that you'd love. We put out a post yesterday. We'll talk about that today. We'll go over the World Cup. I want to ask you a little bit of if you're following digital collectibles, NFTs, and how you're thinking about that.
Yep.
And then we'll go economy and anything else you want to talk about. So,
I mean, I like all that stuff, right? And yeah, welcome.
I thought you would. Before we even start, happy birthday to Mrs. Cage.
That's it. Mrs. Cage's birthday. Very important. Very important.
For you guys that listen to us. So it's funny, like I've been asked to be a guest on a few shows recently. And after the show, like, especially when you get to meet people, you're like, you got to clip this, right? And they look at us and they're like, you guys have a team that clips this. And for all of you guys that don't know, this is our system for how we clip stuff. So how that soccer video appeared on your screen on Instagram, I would do this. So we record the episode. We have a YouTube guy that goes and finds, 5-6 moments and just cuts it really raw, just cuts those moments and sends them in a group text. Our IG guy, amazing guy, really, really good at what he does. Alex comes in and finds the clip he likes, does a little post-production and posts it on IG. That's a system we do. If you guys out there have a podcast, anything like that, highly recommend it. Wanted to let people know.
There you go. And my favorite part is I just talk, forget what I say, and then a day or two later, sometimes longer, my face pops up on Instagram with people shouting at me saying, "What the hell is wrong with this guy?"
To which Cage says, "Thank you for collabing. Now I can answer these people."
Yes, exactly. Thank you for collabing with me, and I can see and respond. So that's definitely.
By the way, if you guys have a podcast, make sure to do collab posts because Instagram pushes those. But the point is, like with the hot takes, they're not hot takes. They're just discussions Cage and I have on the show, and I think in our society we've kind of gone away from debate. Like we think of debate either like we hurl personal attacks at each other. But it's like, here's why I believe X, and here are the supporting reasons. Here's why I believe the opposite, and here are my supporting reasons, right? That's the beauty. That's how we learn. And I thought the cool thing about the comment section was whichever side of the aisle you were on, there were people came in and were like, here are the reasons why I believe it.
Right.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah. It was very educational. I don't know what it's up to now, but this morning it was like 220 comments on there or something insane. And, for the most part, if you read through them, it's a 5, 10, 30-minute trip down, a soccer rabbit hole, soccer collection rabbit hole. But you definitely are going to get something out of it. I know I did. I now have a lot more arguments from passionate people who enjoy, collecting soccer cards, stickers, you name it, why they do it. I have a lot more firepower from people saying they agree. It's fun stuff. So
and it's nuanced, right? It's also not the fact that it's just soccer, the sport, it's soccer, the collecting, right? Because I played soccer my whole life. Basically my whole life, Cage, I've heard soccer is coming. Remember this?
Yep. Yeah.
When is it going to arrive?
Winter is coming. It just kept coming. And then all of a sudden it was just there and over.
It comes and goes. So like, and another thing that's interesting, I think collecting cards is I don't want to say it's a privilege game, but like you need a certain level of disposable income to be in this.
100%.
Whereas the typical, if you look at like soccer's true tradition, like Pele wrapped his ball in like orange peels, it's usually a lower class sport. Right. And there's that discrepancy of the people that typically buy cards are not historically not always be the people that were the ones watching soccer.
Well, it also it also hits on one of the arguments, a repeated refrain that you come up with, which is you can be right about something and still wrong. You could pick the right guy, but buy the wrong card. You could pick Mahomes as the next big thing, but buy the eye black. You can do all of these things. You can pick,
sold and got paid for.
Oh, very exciting. So you could pick the right guy, but not the right card. You could pick the right sport, but not the right player. You could pick. I mean, it's a whole to do, and part of that expands out to soccer as well, right? Like you can say soccer is a global phenomenon. I'm not going to argue with that. You can say the World Cup is a huge driver of eyeballs. I'm not going to argue about it either. I've watched every minute of every game, basically. I'm not going to argue with any of that. I'm not going to argue that it's going to be a growing sport. I'm not going to argue how amazing it's going to be in 2026 when it's here in Philadelphia and Andrew's hosting, watch parties in his parents' house. It's going to be crazy.
You promised we'd do big things before then.
It's going to be huge by then, right? So it's good. Well, you still can't host in your parents' house. It's in Philly.
Yesterday you said I'm too close to my family. Today I need a.
I mean, it is slightly weird, but don't take it too far away from the point. The point being, focused. The sport itself is going to grow, and I get it, and it's a global sport, but that does not necessarily mean that you should be buying Merlin cards of certain players.
People don't love the Topps Museum set. Is one set I realized has not caught on.
I bought a box of Museum with Ian. We got a Jorginho auto out of 50. I probably said that very wrong, but that's what we got.
You said it good. You're improving. The flip side is like a Joe Burrow color blast is I don't know, probably $5,000 up if you're talking about a rookie. You could get a Haaland. Is it his rookie? It's a first color blast for like $2,000, $1,500, $1,200. So also if you compare across players, Cage, the main guys in soccer are much more affordable than the main guys in football and basketball, and that's cooler entry as well.
But you know why, right? And the why on that is less demand. I mean, it's and guys, it's not a knock on soccer. We had the same argument with Mark Mader talking about tickets, and he was talking about how tickets are a better collectible. And we talked about how the Michael Jordan ticket only has 30, but the Michael Jordan PSA 10 has 300. And I said to him, well, then it should be at least 1/10 of the price because not only are, but there's, even if they're the same price, there's clearly 10 times more people who want the 86 Fleer Jordan than who want a ticket. So the point being made here is the organic nature of the collectible itself, right?
All else equal, would you want to own a BGS 10 Jordan?
Of course.
Would you want to own a Black Label Jordan?
Yes.
Give me a black BGS 10 hits the market today. Where does it close?
Millions.
Millions.
A BGS 10 Black Label Jordan?
No, just the BGS 10 and then give me the Black Label.
So I believe the reason why the one Jordan sold for $700,000 is because the person thought it was going to be BGS 10, the whole 9 yards, right? So I think a BGS 10 could be potentially. I mean, what are there? 3 of them?
6.
6 of them. All right. So I mean, if there's 6 of them, I mean, 6 of those Jordans, I would say it's a 7-figure. I still think it's $1 million card. A gold, and a black is probably 3, which is insane. But
we're gonna hit all of our topics today, Luca Nation, but we might go a different route.
So, by the way, go back and the Star and the Fleer argument that we had a bunch of times on here, and I owned the Star. If you go back, I forget who the hell I did the interview with. It might have even been Slab Stocks, right? It was a long time ago. We talked about Jordans. I did one where I talked about like Jeters and Griffeys, but I talked one about Jordans. And I talked about the Star card before anybody was talking about it, years before PSA graded it.
Well, you owned the Star card when I met you.
This was before I.
It is the best centered Star I've ever
seen. It is. There's not that many 9s, but what I said in that interview, by the way, is I believe there's 3 9.5 stars, and the Jordan Fleer was only a $40,000 card at the time. But I said that's not the one you mortgage the house for. You mortgage the house for one of those 3 9.5 stars because of the scarcity of them. I know it's scarcity because of grade and the whole deal, but that's what people chase.
So one of the cool things about the NFT world, Luca Nation, that's fascinating.
Digital. You're rolling into the digitals.
I will. Is there's so the total supply, but you also get to see unique owners, and that's a cool data point. So like if you look at collection, it will tell you. So this many are out there that are owned, and this many people own it. So with our Tiger NFTs, 416 have been minted, 197 unique owners. It's a data point. It's cool. It would be cool to know with those Jordan cards and just all the way down the rung How many are owned by one person?
You know what else you get with digital cards?
Tell me.
A chain. Where
Do
for
your
comps,
chain hang low? Do you wobble to and fro? Do you know the song?
yes,
You
but you got to wrap it better than that, right? So, but what
I
I
would
mean by
if I
the chain,
could.
obviously, is there's no private sales. You want to know how much a Jordan sold for? You want to know how much this sold for? Oh, that was a private sale. Private sale, okay, private sale. You can't be a creative storyteller with the pricing because all of the pricing is on the chain, on the line. Boom, gotcha. 900 episodes. We share a brain.
We have business calls with Cage and full, like, not a joke. He just brings out movie quotes as ways to support his arguments.
What was
of
my
what this
most
business
recent
should
one?
do.
What did I say?
One of them was Tommy Boy for sure.
Oh, Tommy Boy, 100%. Yeah, we talk about guarantees. I'm like, whoa, everything you put a guarantee on the side of the box, all you're being sold is a guaranteed piece of shit. Listen, but it makes you feel nice. You put it under the pillow and the guarantee.
Smart people on the call, and Cage is like,
they all got it.
It works. I mean, it works.
I mean, you can stick your head up a butcher's ass. I mean, you can put your head up a bull's ass to get a look at a T-bone, but you want to just take the butcher's word for
it. Once you put all of those comments, which is crazy, because Luca Nation, when we post the stuff, we don't know how it's going to do. We have no control over Instagram. When you put all of those comments into a blender, mix it up, what's your takeaway? How do you feel about soccer cards now?
I mean, I feel the same. But what's funny is
there's
obviously a passionate base for it, which is good. But a lot of what happened over the last 2 years, it's not just soccer, but soccer is going to take the fore on this, has to be unraveled. There's sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or 1 step forward, 2 steps back, right? Depending upon, how much of a Paula Abdul fan you are. Soccer,
measure your steps too.
Soccer took 1 big step forward, but it's going to need to take 3 steps back from where it is to get back on track with actual organic growth of the fans. Now, there are a lot of people in those comments who like collecting soccer cards, right? This is not just soccer. You could say this for a lot of mass-produced stuff. You could say it for F1. You could say it for wrestling stuff. You could say it for UFC cards. To some extent, you could say it for even the major sports, basketball, baseball, and football, because they've also been mass-produced. And it's going to take a lot of things happening over the next year, 2 or 5, including a little scaling back of production numbers, including a lot of people leaving, believe it or not. People are going to lose money in those areas, and it's going to set another baseline and grow from there.
Are you with me? Do you want? We'll just go through the card ladder index.
Shoot,
real quick.
Go for it, please.
So over the last 2 years, you guys could do this on your own. Obviously, every index, the way it's constructed, an index is constructed of individual cards. How you choose the cards is super subjective. But if we're just going to go card ladder index for soccer, up 120% over the last 2 years. So it has some Pele stuff in it, Messi and Mbappe, maybe a mix of vintage and new. Over the last year, it's down 35%, Cage.
So it took that step, then it's taking a step back. Yeah, go ahead.
There's your step back. How do you know? When do you enter, Cage? All time soccer, there's the chart. It's still not back where COVID prices are, as we were
and I don't think it's going to get all the way back to that, because soccer, pre-COVID was really low. It was really, not a huge talked about thing. Like, I own a couple soccer cards myself, but it was just because I'm buying goats. I own a Pele. Sold it because the stuff just really got ahead of itself. And that's a card that I would have loved to have owned forever. But when the prices get as crazy as they do, I could sell it and buy back in later on when the prices come back down, as they're doing now. That's what happens when you have one of these inorganic pumps. Even people who are willing to buy something and hold it, they take their money off the table.
Pumped? You keep saying soccer pumped. You said it on the last episode too.
Because you can see people getting into soccer cards that had nothing to do with soccer, and they rotated and pivoted into soccer after another area. And why do I say it? Because people were buying it, showing it off like it was a great thing, and then literally selling it the next day, the next week, you name it. So
that's not a pump. We have to be better with our words.
So what is?
I'll give you an example. In 2008, 9, 10, the government printed all this money. A lot of people started investing in stocks that knew nothing about stocks. Doesn't mean that stocks were pumped. It just means there was a ton of liquidity entering into the
market.
That's
not what pump means at all. Pump is exactly what I said. It's somebody pumping, meaning they're pumping air into something and then trying to dump it at a higher price, pumping the price. So basically,
who was doing that?
Anyone who bought a card with the intention of selling it for more on an unexpected, unsuspecting audience. So anybody who buys that
flipping.
Card, okay, you can flip something, sure.
But we just use pump for everything nowadays.
So do me a favor before you. There's a whole bunch of things here I'm going to say to you. Number one, I'm going to save you from yourself. Thank you, Mrs. Cage. Number two, I need you to do some research. Okay, I need you to go look up what pump and dump means. You can put it up on Wikipedia right now, right? And basically what the premise is, just for our audience, it's when you inflate the value of something, right? That's the pump part. You're inflating the value. You're purposefully inflating the value of it to then dump it. Do I really? I'm going to spell this out to you.
You don't have to say names. You don't have to say names.
Yes, obviously, many influencers, many people who have an Instagram platform and were probably doing this in other areas. All of a sudden, they started putting out the best example of this early on is Mbappe card. Okay. That's the best example of it, right?
And don't get defensive. These are legit questions because I didn't start buying soccer during that Mbappe run-up where you got upcharged by PSA for a PSA 9. By the time you got it in your hands, it was less than all that.
But that had a whole bunch of additional things going on with it too, which included a supply shock, right? That included, I would even say, similar to a short squeeze, what was going on with Mbappe. We're really using crazy stuff here because everybody was looking for it at a time when no one had him to sell because everybody was sending him into PSA and PSA was hanging on to him. You know what I mean? So it's like, wow, the population is wrong, right? And then boom, it's like this. It goes from, I remember buying those things raw for like $10, grading them for $8. And, you're into them for $18, $20, and then you're getting upcharged by PSA for a 9, which means it's,
What were 10s going for?
Thousands. 10s were going for like, a base 10 was like $3,000.
$18 to a 3K come up.
The 9s were basically $1,000. It was insane.
That's a come up.
Yeah, it was insane. And I was sitting there with 50 something of them at PSA. But what's funny is by the time I got them back, everyone else was getting them back. And you saw the pump and the dump. That's what goes on. Now, that's just one example. And for the soccer folks out there who are listening to it, it's not just soccer. It's a bunch of other, areas that this happened in. Look at the Giannis prism. Very similar trajectory to the Mbappe prism. There's a lot of fun stuff out there you can point to. The difference is basketball collector base, the basketball card base was there in 2012, 2013, 14, 15. There was not a ton of soccer cards out there. Sure, there were World Cup releases, so you can point to the fact there were soccer cards being made, but very small releases for the 2014 World Cup, and then the 2018 World Cup was released, but it was like, and there were some other cards, right? There was Select, and there was Topps Chrome, and there were other releases, but it just boomed, and it boomed. Yes, the other sports boomed. But in baseball, people have been collecting baseball forever. In basketball, people at least were collecting basketball cards with LeBron there for a little while. Maybe before that with Jordan. And it's a boom, but it's a boom with a support below it in these other sports. The soccer boom happened basically out of nothing. There was no support. What I would say, if we're adding like a chapter 2 to the take, this boom, when it comes back and it'll be what builds the base. That basketball
the foundation.
Has that foundation. Exactly. It'll be built on this. Once it pulls itself back.
If you're building a strong foundation, is it active participants? Is it whales with money? What are the
It's everything. It's longevity, right? It's production. It's a right sizing of supply and demand, which is needed right now
Not in
every sport.
That's on the manufacturer.
And the manufacturers have control of what they produce. They don't have control over what gets purchased. No one has control over the entire cycle. They don't have control over what fans buy. So we have control over a part. They have control over a part.
What I've seen, what I've observed in different industries, different segments, NFTs, stocks. Why do stocks have institutional holders and retail holders? Institutional holders are whales. Whales are have the perception of being more trustworthy. So what I think makes actually a really strong market is deep pockets, collectors with deep pockets in soccer, in basketball, right? Like, why is the Jordan market so strong? You have a lot of really successful people in it with deep pockets that buy up supply, that protect their market.
I mean, you could say that. I mean, the entire argument against what we're talking about here for 20 minutes, we could spend another 20 minutes saying that everything we just said was wrong. And what makes these collectibles something that we shouldn't be comparing to stocks, something that you shouldn't be comparing to institutional and retail investors, is that at base, the product itself has to be something that someone wants to collect, whether there's value to it or not. The intrinsic value as a collectible is something they want. And I would make an argument that it is just as sound that the Jordan collection is not because so many whales are protecting their investment because they think it's worth X and it's going to be worth more, but that the reason why it has value to begin with is because so many people want to own a Michael Jordan rookie card as a collectible, right? Is that the Cardboard Chronicles, right? They have value because we want to own them. We don't own them because they have value, right? They're worth something because we want to own them, not vice versa. So there's that counter argument as well that has to be factored in. And, for soccer,
but they want to own 10s. They don't want to own 9s, even though it's the exact.
It depends on the item. Card. People will pay more for a 10. Yes, that's I understand what you're saying. But at Michael Jordan 86 Fleer, there's a buyer for that in any grade, obviously at various price levels. You can't say that about a lot of cards. There's not a buyer for every Brandon Clark Hoops Premium out there. You can wallpaper my house with them.
What do you think is about to happen to Messi cards? So
I think he's going to lose.
My perception is we're seeing a Tom Brady to the Buccaneers type of moment where, if you guys remember,
because he's going to the MLS.
Usually there's a drop off after a player wins a Super Bowl, but in the Brady to the Bucs case, I don't think that it was priced in. I think if we saw it hit the market with a surprise, and the next 6 months after that win, we were pricing in. There was a price discovery for Brady cards. I don't believe this World Cup has been priced in for Messi.
You've been saying that, yeah. I mean, you've been sticking to your guns on that.
And then we'll talk about they're not going to win because. You want to have a heated debate. Who the have you? So if you guys have watched the documentary on Netflix, it's Take the Ball, Pass the Ball. Mm-hmm. It's an amazing documentary. Actually, the title kind of sucks, but the documentary is fantastic. It was about. I have tremendous respect for Johan Cruyff now. I have tremendous respect for the Barcelona way. It covers a few different aspects. It covers the Barcelona team. It covers Messi. Covers Cruyff, who kind of developed this Barca way, covers the feud between Mourinho and Guardiola, and the trust and belief that they had in Guardiola, even though Mourinho was such a big-time coach, to choose Guardiola to take over this team. Just such a fantastic documentary. Messi's not losing in a one-off game, man.
It's a team sport.
Not in one game.
Sport. Not and all of his goals have been on penalty kicks. BS.
That's right.
So, and France doesn't give a lot of penalty kicks away because they don't need.
France could have had a PK like 2 games ago. They have the clumsiest center backs. What are you talking
about? Because they're a better team. They're a better overall team, top to bottom. But let's answer first, right? First one's first is what do I think is going to happen to Messi cards? It's interesting. If I were somebody who we have to have another category with the tinfoil hats. Give Card Porn a little credit on that one. It's a great one. Best tinfoil hat content out there. You see his comment? He wants to give you a hobby award for best rant, and you can pick any of your rants. He thinks you have the best rants in the world. Me for best hobby hair, which, I mean, I'm a unanimous runaway. And then best tinfoil hat content out there. It was a pretty funny comment. But if I put a tinfoil hat on, I would say it's amazing how the hobby has been helped by the results. Because in this hobby run-up, we saw a bubble championship for LeBron. The poster child of basketball cards, the one that everybody was invested in, the people who were here before, the people who came in. Like if there was one person who you wanted to win a championship during that crazy run, the COVID bubble, you name it, LeBron would be the one that would change the most fortunes, and he won. And then for all the Northeastern football collectors who lucked into being born somewhere in New England and have been buying Brady cards with all of their lunch money since they were children. And all the big money people who are buying Brady forever, here we are. We have a Brady move to the Bucks, and somehow after LeBron wins a championship, Brady wins a championship. And let's go to soccer. World Cup happens once every 4 years. I mean, which soccer player would everyone stand to gain the most from winning a championship? Let's let Messi finally. He's got all these other.
These are the best players in their sport. They're winning not by accident though. Like they're actually the best.
All in team sports, and we see that they're the best. Yes, but it's very difficult to actually win a championship. And yet, somehow, my tinfoil hat wearing friend, I would say to you that it's interesting that somehow these folks are all getting. Let's not assume Messi wins.
Are you saying that? Look at how Joe Flacco didn't win a championship.
I'm saying everything's perfect. I'm saying everything worked perfectly for collectors this time around, and yet it may not pan out because what you have correctly said, my facial hair challenged friend, is what? When Brady won, did his prices go up?
Yes.
When LeBron won, did his prices go up?
Yes, short term, yes.
And then what
actually after LeBron won, his prices didn't hit. They had the NBA
when Mahomes won, which was also very helpful for everyone. What happened to his prices?
Those fell off.
So you're now going to say that because Messi's cards didn't have a run up like some of those other guys' cards did, that his cards may not come down.
It solidifies. So what happened with Brady was he was always compared. There's still always the debate of him being the greatest, but it's still a debate. And when he won that 7th championship, it was like, okay, the debate's done. Mm-hmm. That's what happens with this Messi World Cup. There is always this like fun debate: Ronaldo, Messi, Maradona, Messi, Pele, Messi. But the one thing against him was, okay, he won the Champions League. He has the goals. He has the stats, but he's never won a World Cup. He was never able to do what Maradona did. If he does that, it kind of crosses off the only objection that was left on that debate.
Okay.
But you don't think he's going to win?
I don't think he's going to win. And I don't think it matters.
I think it's the best bet of the year. Literally the best bet of the year.
Well, then, guys, you know which way to bet now. Banana hat extraordinaire over here. Go away from this one. Run away from it screaming and yelling. I mean, listen, the cool thing about it is if you're a soccer fan.
Not in regulation, just to win the World Cup. I would just go that route, by the way.
Okay. If you're a soccer fan or a soccer collector, you know, something momentous is going to happen here. You're either going to get a very young, we're talking 58, 62, although the 62 team Pele was injured and Garrincha was the real star of the 62 Cup. You're talking about Mbappe winning two. I mean, you know, no, but I looked those guys up specifically because I bought that card. Remember, I have like the 58 Alifa Baloge. I have like a whole bunch of, and Ian got a 58. He got a 58 Brazil team sticker from the World Cup stickers. We've been opening up World Cup stickers over here. So he's got a cool one. It's a gold foil border around it. It's pretty awesome. So yeah. Anyway, so Mbappe could be a 2-time champ real early on, and as great as Messi is, and as great as Ronaldo is, you know, you have a Mahomes type start for the career of Mr. Mbappe, putting him on the road to start making an argument for himself with some actual hardware. Maybe, you know, a golden boot this time around, you know, as well, most likely.
2 World Cups, golden boot. For sure he's going to win a Champions League. It's easy.
I mean, for sure. We'll see what happens. Champions League is actually the best soccer. It's much better than what's played in the World Cup. But it's another hot take, I guess, for, you know, people who want to argue with me. But I think it's pretty clear Champions League better.
I mean, if you watch that, it's not a hot take. It's 100%.
It's much better. Good. I never know whether you're going to agree with me or not. But here's the thing. I think the message.
Well, I don't just agree and say it. I just speak the truth.
Well, as am I. Champions League is the best soccer that gets played. It just is. Nice and easy. So, but here's the thing, right? I mean, what do I know, man? I was a Blackpool fan. They haven't been in Prem since like 2010. They haven't been in the Prem since 2010. I mean, that's what I was watching in like 2008 when they jumped up. 2009 maybe. But here's the fun stuff, right? I mean, relegation's great. It's a good thing. I think we saw this World Cup, the Ronaldo-Messi debate end, no matter what happens with Messi here. Because Ronaldo being benched, that's a tough pill to swallow, man. It just is. From young, yeah, I do. I do. I think it's a tough, because Look, you know, you have a new generation of fans watching this, like my son, for example, who is going to remember that and say, why do people, I mean, remember, as a 9-year-old, so don't jump down his throat, guys. I'm just telling you what, you know, what a child would see looking at this. And it's, why do people compare Messi to Ronaldo? I mean, Messi's out there, plays the whole game, takes the penalty kicks, and Ronaldo doesn't even get in the game until the 60th minute. Interesting stuff, right? I mean, Father Time catches up to us all. That's
He's
the
a
way
little
it works.
older, is what I would say, and
He
his
is.
skills aren't the same skills as Messi. But I would agree, like Ronaldo's not the focal point. Where Messi at 37 is still, they
Is
built the
still
entire team
most
around him, where they
definitely.
let him walk around the pitch for 80% of a play make. Dude,
It's an
that
interesting
team
thing. The
came out to
Maradona
play.
thing is a better comparison, right? Because the knock on Messi has been great, but he's been Ted Williams. He's been Mike Trout. I mean, I don't want to compare him to Mike Trout, but Ted Williams is a better example, right? Because the guy just was possibly the best hitter to ever play baseball, and you know, missed years of his prime to go fight in wars, and still hit 500 home runs, still hit 400 in a season. You know, still was the best one out there, but never won a championship. So that's your knock. The World Cup in soccer is a big deal. Although it happens once every 4 years, you don't get as many chances to do it. And, you know, you have to have a team around you to help as well. But, you know, if he wins this, it does it. I mean, it checks every single box. I think that's an amazing thing. It puts him in as the GOAT, right? But Messi's cards ran. I know you said they haven't run like in the lead up to World Cup, but Messi's cards all ran as part of the run. Like he was the poster child of the run. So it's difficult to see what would happen. And I'm always a buy the rumor, sell the news kind of guy, right? I would buy leading up to this. I'd be selling now if I had any Messi left.
There's an amazing 2017 Topps Chrome Gold PSA 10 of his for sale on Weekly. Mahomes or Hurts MVP?
Right now it's Hurts. I mean, he would have to really fumble the ball,
right?
Probably quite literally fumble the ball a few times, you know, between now and the end of the season. You know, they play Dallas. You know, if he puts up a stinker, I don't. They may play him twice more. You can check the schedule for me if you like. I know they play him at least. I think they'll play him at least once more. Is it? I know they play him. I know they play him once.
Yeah. No, this week it's Bears, then Cowboys, then Saints, then Giants.
Okay, so they have 2 more division games, right?
Cage, why does it say TBD on the last game? Why don't they give a time?
Because they could flex it.
Gotcha.
You know, like it could be like the national game. What's the last game? Who are they playing? Giants. Because I mean, that could mean this a playoff spot for the Giants. So who knows what exactly it's going to be? They could flex the time on it. But I mean, the Cowboys are what, 2 games behind them? I mean,
10-3, 12-1.
So I imagine that the Eagles won't be the thing that decides it. But you know, if he loses to Dallas and throws 3 picks in that game, and all of a sudden Dallas passes them somehow, and you know finishes 14-3 with a tiebreaker, Dallas wins the division, and you know Hurts kind of fumbles here on out, and Mahomes wins his division and gets a 1 seed somehow. And I mean, you could see it. Mahomes, it's tough with Mahomes right now. He's fallen into the Mike Trout role where they could basically give him the MVP every year. He's healthy and plays because he just does it at that high of a level, and there's a little fatigue. You know, Mahomes, he's the best quarterback in the league. He just is. But you can't just keep giving him the MVP every year.
Did you see? I'm all over the place. Trump released his own NFT collection.
No.
You didn't see this?
No.
It's pretty hilarious. It actually has a lot of utility. It's like, go meet me at Mar-a-Lago, dinner in Miami, $99. Just such an interesting time to release an NFT collection. And I saw it this morning on my timeline. I legit thought it was a joke. It is, in fact, real.
Digital stuff. It's interesting. So rare. Top Shot. All kinds of fun stuff, man. You know, I mean, it's still there. It's got to build the base.
What has a bigger collector base? Soccer cards, So Rare, Top Shot, or NFTs?
Well, I think soccer is on So Rare. What's funny is it's a great comparison, right? I would say of all of those, soccer has the best chance of
Soccer cards
has the best chance of regaining some footing and growing first because of the huge fan base and the whole deal, but because all the other ones just started this year. At least soccer has some history. It has some vintage cards. It has that kind of stuff, right? You know, NFTs, how far back can an NFT go? I mean, how far back are Plasma Bears and CryptoPunks and that stuff? A couple years, maybe. soccer cards, they go back, a long time. Not exactly as a humongous collectible, but they're out there.
What I find interesting is just the whole divide between digital and tangible collectibles. Because like if you kind of did like you draw a line through your paper and you do these are the similarities, these are the differences.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the similarities would outnumber the differences probably 10-1. Okay.
Oh, sure.
I think there's way more similarities between digital and tangible collectibles than people realize. But the one aspect of it being digital versus tangible is such a block in people's mind that they could never touch it, whatever touch it means, that they're either one side of the aisle or another. And I'm curious if eventually it becomes just one industry, because that's how I see it.
I mean, listen, there's a lot of gatekeeping that goes on. That's kind of the way it works. I mean, I remember before grading, people in the hobby were like, well, I don't need a company to grade my cards. I definitely don't want it in a slab, right? I can't touch the card anymore. It's cardboard. I want to be able to touch the card and feel the card.
What do you mean by gatekeeping?
You know what a gatekeeper is? So a best example I have for a gatekeeper is it's used in fighting, right? It's somebody who guards from levels, right? So like before somebody gets a title fight, there's a fighter like a Donald Cerrone who's not going to fight for the title anymore, but he's at that level where like if you can't beat him, you don't deserve a shot at the title. If you can beat him, you deserve a shot at it. So he's gatekeeping that contender stuff. So a gatekeeper is like people who were in the hobby for a long time saying, no, you can't come here. You can't do that. You can't
love cards and love.
We've done it like this for this long. You can't come in and do it a different way. That's they're minding the gate, right?
They socially shun people.
For a person like you, St. Peter is the gatekeeper, so he's at the gate, letting people in and not letting people in.
St. Petersburg, Russia.
Not St. Petersburg, Russia, but yes, that's who it's named for. Anyway, so gatekeeping. The point, of course, being is that the hobby goes through this stuff.
Were right about you.
The comments, of course, are always right, but no. So seriously, like I remember being at shows and people are like, grading's never going to matter. Grading's never going to last. I need to be able to touch my card. It's a very similar argument that's being made to digital. Like, wait, no. I need to be able to. It's got to be tangible. I have to touch it. Well, guess what, guys? You're not touching it anyway. You're touching plastic wrapped around the card, and things evolve. I can tell you that Blockbuster didn't buy Netflix because they just decided that there's no way people are going to ever just stream these movies on their computer. I mean, it's a disc. And by the way, Netflix started off by mailing those discs to people's houses. It wasn't always just a streaming service. So things evolve. And while right now the gatekeepers of the hobby and the industry say digital is this foreign thing, there are kids who are going to grow up. Digital is the only thing. Digital is buying a pack on NBA 2K to build their team out. And it is not going to be as foreign or as new of a concept to the next generation as it is. And one step further, 20 years from now, Top Shot will be something you remember again. Just like Pokemon came back 20 years. Oh, remember Top Shot? Let me go see what those things are. Oh, wow. Let me buy the LeBron. Let me buy those. As a Shaq, as a run it back.
Outwork, outwork, out-improve, out-strategize, outlast. Honestly, just outlasting, right?
Outlast.
With some of these businesses, outlast for that next nostalgia cycle. Economy, guys. Here's how I'm thinking about it. We all know like the basis point increase, so cash is more difficult to acquire. Credit card bills are going up, cost of living is going up. Just something to think about in 2023. It's going to continue to be difficult to sell cards. Not just in the price you're going to get, just budget more time before that cash will hit your pocket and understand that liquidity is going to be difficult. And where 2 years ago, I could sell a card instantly and get cash in my pocket within, let's say, 3 days, 5 days average, I think it's going to take a month on average to sell cards at this point.
And you're right, just from personal experience, where I would sell cards and immediately get them back. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I get my money, get my funding. I have some stuff that are not being paid for, and I'm not getting the funding, immediately the way that I normally would. So it is a real world. What you're saying is true.
And as a part of like our community, we don't build victim mentality. So it's frustrating. It's annoying. It's annoying for me. It's been difficult, but we have to adapt and adjust. That's what's going to separate us over any other community. So just keep that in mind as we're heading into 2023, because here's what happens. We get strapped for cash because we can't think ahead, right?
Mm-hmm.
We sell on like that. And then we have this stress layered on because we need the money to live or pay bills. So if we're able to just budget and think a little bit ahead and understand the current circumstances, my goal is it saves stress and headaches. So,
I mean, I think it's a valid point. It really is. I mean, listen, money is, you got to keep an eye on what's going on with the economy. I mean, a full basis?
I think they did a half with like they're going to do. What the theme has been is like we're going to beat inflation no matter if it puts the economy in a recession.
Mm-hmm.
So the way you beat inflation is you dry up money supply.
Yep,
it's that simple. So, which is fine, but it's going to lead to unemployment, and you see white collar unemployment hit first, and then blue collar is kind of a lagging one. So you're going to start to see that play itself out. It's nothing to be alarmed about because I had a clip a while ago say, like, when we think of recession, we think of it at a negative term, but there are opportunities as long as you are prepared and have your finger on the pulse. I really like Kitco News, by the way, for YouTube. Like, I always feel like they have good segments, good guests, because it's really hard to trust mainstream media when it comes to the economy because it always feels like they have their own agenda on both sides of the aisle, right?
Yeah.
So I really like it's a YouTube channel. It's called Kitco News. It goes crypto, it goes economy, it brings on contrarians, it brings on bulls, it brings on all different types of people.
The bulls.
The bulls, the bears, they're dovish, they're hawkish.
The bulls, the bears.
Any final words before we bounce?
Yeah, man. Give me 30 seconds as to why Argentina is a better team than France. Don't say it's Messi. Don't say it's time. Tell me
how they're a better team.
How do they win?
Argentina team has been terrible. They played their best game against Croatia, where the rest of when you get an early goal, it just takes a lot of pressure off you, number one. And it was other players stepping up. But in a one-game winner takes all, you got to understand there's this false nine that was created by Guardiola. It's basically a player that sits in between the midfield and the defense and just finds space and sort of plays point guard. In one game, winner takes all, Messi is that guy. And you know how Mbappe, you could triple team?
Mm-hmm.
Messi's a really difficult guy to triple team because he goes on everywhere in the field. You can't just have people follow him because you'll lose your shape. So in a one-game winner take all, an Mbappe can't shine as well, a Ronaldo can't shine, but it's built for a Messi. So he's going to find space, he's going to play make, and he's going to wreak havoc. And that France defense in and of itself has been poor. Very poor defense.
We'll see. It's fun. Fun to watch.
I believe that's his name. Very poor defenders. Lloris has had 2 good games, but he is a liability. I think it's going to be very difficult for this French team to find Messi.
The last thing I'll comment on is we've been talking about quarterbacks, talk about young quarterbacks and selling in the whole 9 yards because there's going to come to a point where not all of them can win a Super Bowl.
Before you go there, real quick, you're the coach of France. Don't roll your eyes at me. You know Benzema could play.
Okay.
Did you know Benzema could play?
Kareem?
Yeah. For the one game he was out with a quad, Real Madrid signed off that he could play. Do you play Giroud or Benzema?
Giroud's been fantastic.
He's been
and on set pieces, I don't take him out. He's been a machine. He's a head ball guy. And Argentina's a little short there. I think you could have a set piece where Giroud makes a difference. I would have him at the ready. I don't take him out.
So you go Giroud to start 50 minutes, then you go.
We'll see what happens. Yeah,
okay.
We'll see what happens.
I didn't want to go to a different topic.
No, it's fine. So I'll tell you, Josh Allen versus Tua this weekend. Right? So you're looking for good stuff, you name it.
Tua's a little arrogant recently.
It's fun to watch because Tua had a little come up. A lot of people talking about Tua, potentially MVP and Tua winning and the whole deal. And then Josh Allen was not winning, and it's in Buffalo. It's going to be friggin' cold. And you got a Florida team coming up into Buffalo. So
2 shit games in a row by Tua, right?
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to watch because this is what happens. We're getting down to the nitty gritty here at the end of the season. You can't have both of them win. right? And, you know, you're going to start to see people eliminated, and some of the prices being paid for some of these things are pretty high, pretty crazy. So I love this time, man. I love this time because basketball is getting fun. I'm watching all basketball games, and you know, you're watching football get nuts. You're watching all this fun stuff. So it's a good sport time. Exciting.
Love you, Nation.
All for listening to another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronzo My. I wanted to tell you about a new service that we have starting as of today, and I'm really, really excited to bring it to you guys. So, as a part of our partnership with SGC, we got 50 free submissions every single month, and many of you have taken advantage of that. And it's amazing that we could have the opportunity to 650 episodes, 675 episodes in, to go ahead and give back to our community. As people were sending those cards in, they asked, can we send 5, 10, 20 more cards to you guys? We'll pay for it, but we wanted them graded with SGC. You guys know SGC is turning cards around in 13 to 14 business days, have incredible customer service, and their secondary market values are going up day after day after day. And that's exciting for the hobby and exciting for the grading landscape. So we didn't want to just rush into it. We wanted to do it right. And what we did was I relocated here to Boca Raton, Florida. I opened up a P.O. box maybe 5 minutes away from SGC, and I will be hand delivering and hand picking up the cards. So you don't have to worry about anyone else touching your cards. It will be me, and I will update you every step of the way. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to personally pick up the cards from a P.O. box, prep them, new card saver, new penny sleeve, and deliver them to SGC every single Tuesday. Why Tuesday? Well, it lets the stragglers over the weekend come back through on Monday and gives me a day to prep, and it basically gives SGC the entire week to work on grading those cards. Once your cards pop, only then at the end of the process will you be paying for the service. It's $25 per card, simple as that, and the turnaround times have never been faster. We're hearing right now 13, 14, less than 20 business days. So there it is. 9170 Glades Road, number 135 is the P.O. Box in Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. 9170 Glades Road, number 135, Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. Of course, you could shoot me an email or shoot me a text anytime, and I'm always available. Many of you already have my email. It's iamandrewgoldberg@gmail.com. or my cell phone number, 215-519-9154. Reach out with any questions. I could walk you through the process. I've hopped on the call with quite a few of you, and I'm happy to do that. Love you, Luca Nation.